I'd like an answer to the question, Judge. You can't handle the truth!
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Welcome to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code, with your hosts, Joel Sturgis, Eric Olsen, and Dr. Clarissa Cole.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition of After Hours AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole,
better known as the Three Amigos of True Crime. So tonight,
that is the first time I have actually heard that intro, my friends, and I'm not sure my mouth could actually form the pronunciation of code.
I know, right? Yeah.
I don't think I can do it like that. It's so cool.
I think the spokesperson is going for that creepy thing. Welcome to the criminal
or the Minnesota thing.
Code. Something like that. So anyhow,
I think it's Minnesota.
It is a Minnesota thing. But I'm going to go ahead, guys. We're going to kind of break from tradition. And I'm going to bring John Cushman in here. I'm going to actually dial him in real time so you can hear the magic of radio. And we're going to talk about a walk that he's doing. Not just any walk, but a special walk. And I'm dialing him in right now because actually it's something worth talking about here.
Should I say a few words while you're dialing?
Sure. Go ahead.
Just to remind you guys, those who listen to the Thursday night show, we've had John on a few times. He is the leader of...
Hey, John.
He's the leader of Dinner with a Ghost. And that's how we know him. But This is an amazing event that he is... Well, I don't want to give too much away since we now have John on the line. Welcome to the program, John Cushman. Tell us what it is that you're doing beginning Monday.
Well, I'm strapping on the sneakers again and taking a walk from Washington, D.C. to San Diego.
It's a long walk.
Well, I had nothing else to do, so I thought I'd do that. And, bring the American Diabetes Association.
There you go.
Making people aware of it. So
I was going to say that's a Forrest Gump worthy walk right there. But like you said, it's for
Kush,
go ahead.
Kush has been around longer than Forrest Gump.
I was going to say this is not the first time that you've done this walk.
No, 1977 from New York to San Diego for Jerry Lewis.
How many pairs of shoes? How many pairs of shoes does one go through on that kind of walk?
Well, the first one was 5.
Wow.
Damn.
Can I ask you about brand? Can I ask you about brand of shoe? Is there something like what? No, really. Is there one that's better?
Adidas was brand new. At that time, Adidas was brand new.
Ooh.
And they were more plastic than anything else, so it was a little rough. In fact, the third pair going through Missouri melted on the freeway. They lasted about 10 minutes.
Oh, wow! Now you have.
So I'm wearing.
Yeah. What are you wearing these days?
Now I'm 40 years changes a lot of things. I had a transistor radio back then. That was technology. Now, as you know. Eric, I don't know if you showed anybody the backpack that I'm carrying. It's not a backpack. It's a camera pack and gadget pack. I have everything now.
Wow.
So, it's going to be heavily documented, and it's going to be quite different. So when I get eaten by the coyotes this time, you'll be able to get it on film. So, it's a little bit different.
Well, we may get the Discovery Channel on film if you get eaten by coyotes. I'm sure they'd be interested to film that.
Well,
have that out there.
I'm hoping for something something better.
Yeah.
Even coyotes have changed. It could be buffalo or bison or maybe a cocker spaniel or two. You never know.
Yeah, well,
they have a tendency to be dangerous out there. So
maybe
it's a big country.
Exactly.
Sure.
Maybe run into El Chupacabra, or get abducted by aliens. It's all cool.
I noticed. We had driven out here to Cleveland, and I noticed it's a long way from the West Coast. It reminded me that 7,500,000 steps is a long way to go. It's a long way to go, but it'll be a great way to get the awareness factor out on diabetes. When 86 million Americans have type 2 diabetes, and 35 million have type 1.
It's an epidemic.
So it's the largest epidemic. It's the largest disease. 1 in 3 Americans, if you're in a room with 3 people, one of you has diabetes. 1 in 3. 1 in 3. How do you get around that?
Yeah.
How do you get around that?
Well, we've sure seen it in my family. My father, who just recently passed away, he had type 2 diabetes for about 20 years, got it in his mid-60s, and much more seriously. He was able to fend off most of the symptoms, and he didn't even need to use he took oral medication till the very, very end, just the last few months of his life did he have to go on insulin. But my mother's, on the other side of the family, my mother's sister, and this was, of course, from the 30s to the 50s, she had type 1, and she only lived into her early 20s. It was very, very difficult.
Well, I'll give you some frightening information. Type 2 diabetes is being found in juvenile children now, for the first time. And that's because, when we grew up, we were out all playing baseball after school. They're locked in the room playing the games, and children are not active anymore. And type 2 diabetes has showed up in these children. It's absolutely heart-rending. Well, and the other thing I wanted to talk about, is organ donation. Why take it with you when you could save lives? Save lives. Let people live. Let people live, and it's a great thing. It's a great thing to leave somebody. And in fact, Eric, as you know, my eldest son has type 1. He's had it since 7 years old, type 1 diabetes, and 2 years ago he lost his kidneys. So he's been on a list, and last Friday he was brought down to Phoenix for the transplant. It finally happened. Somebody, of course, he got up on the top of the list. It was an exact match, and he went down and to the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix. They prepped him on the table and getting him all ready for this, and the kidney was fine. The pancreas was a dead pancreas. So you can never tell. Hope was there. He was ready to go, and they wouldn't do it. They will not do a surgery without both of them in place, because once you have the pancreas and the kidney together, that person is cured from diabetes. Mm-hmm. That's what it means for organ donation. That's what it means.
Well, so, you're very passionate about it, John, and we appreciate that, and it really is an amazing thing. We don't want to overemphasize the age aspect, but if people aren't sitting there doing the math, you did this 40 years ago when you were 21, so people can figure out how old you are. So this is really going to be a huge commitment. And one of the things we wanted to emphasize, and then of course we'll move on to the crime element of our true crime show, but we really did want to mention this and tell people how they can get a hold of you and follow you, and probably the easiest way is to get to your website, right?
Absolutely. It's www.johncushmanwalk2017.com.
And links, you can donate to the American Diabetes Association. You can follow along.
Yep.
Once he begins, and this kicks off high noon at the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. on Monday. So if you are in that area, it would be fantastic. Stop by. Going to give John a really great send-off as he follows the Yellow Brick Road, as it were. And just one last thing about the whole experience. One of the things that we're really looking into and we're excited about is this juxtaposition of the old school, of analog, and the new school. In other words, you don't get any more old school than putting one foot in front of the other 12 hours a day for 2 months. That's as old school as it gets. That could have happened 10,000 years ago. But the other side of it is all this is being documented digitally with a variety of cameras, GoPros, 360s, night vision. It's going to be an amazing thing. And John will be posting to social media every day throughout the day, be doing video blogs, and his good buddy who's keeping an eye on him and helping him out, Travis, we got to shout out to him. He'll be along for the ride as well. Go ahead, John. I kind of cut you off.
That is really, really cool. That is going to be interesting to watch John's progression as he walks across the country. And, of course, everyone heard the links and how you can be a part of it and how you can donate. And, of course, I'm sure John will take a donation of a shoe or two as well.
Is John no longer with us? Oh, no, there he is.
I'm
Anything
right here.
to add, John? Anything you'd like to add?
You know, we're coming to your town. There's a lot of towns involved. You know, go on the site. You'll see the route of the walk, and you never know where you could just step outside, say hello to John, and, be a part of it. You know, you're
as he
saving
goes
a life.
trudging by. There goes John, trudging by.
There he goes. He's off to save somebody's life tonight.
Bring him a Gatorade.
America one step at a time, you know.
Well, that's really, really great, John. Great cause. Admirable walk. Really, folks, follow along. It'll be live. You can watch a live stream and all that kind of good stuff. They'll be recording everything. And also be aware that diabetes is touching everybody in America at some point, some way, someone's family. So that's a very, very important walk, John. Thanks a ton for coming on. And we'll get you. We'll let you get stepping, man.
Thank you, my friends.
Hey, not a problem. Not a problem. John Cushman,
care.
everybody, and of course he is going to be doing the walk across America for diabetes, and so type 1 and type 2. So, as we also heard that it has touched his own family as well as mine, Eric's, and Clarissa. I'm sure it's touched yours at some point.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, definitely if you are not on the organ donor list, with your driver's license, you get that little check mark, I am, do it, because nobody should ever die in this country because they cannot get an organ. There's no reason not to.
Exactly. So definitely be a donor. I am a donor. Eric, I'm sure you are as well.
I believe I am.
So check your driver's license. It should be on there that you are a donor. If you're not, become one. At least consider it. Think about it, talk about it, and consider it. But that being said, we got to move on. We got to move on to true crime headlines brought to you by thecriminalcode.com. The Criminal Code is Dr. Clarissa Cole's own website. There you can read about all things true crime, everything from serial killers to mass murders, everything in between, and plus you can also read the doctor's notes, plus talk to Clarissa yourself. If you have a question, she's very accessible via email, and if you'd like to see somebody profiled on the website, she also, on occasion, does do special requests. That being said, it is time for True Crime Headlines.
All right. So here we go. I do want to start with a bit more serious crime, just because I had posted this earlier in the week. There was a very pretty woman named Savannah who went missing, and she was 8 months pregnant at the time. And people were looking for her, and eventually a fisherman found her body. It washed up, and it had been wrapped in plastic and duct tape, and the child was missing from her body.
Wow. Well,
yes.
that happened in Fargo. Well, let me get rid of the audio here.
Fargo, and
that is only a
how far is that from you?
About 4 hours. About 4 hours away. In fact, I will be in Mahnomen, Minnesota, October, which is about a half hour outside of Fargo.
Wow.
So,
I mean, this unreal. Like, you don't think, okay, I'm sorry, but when I think of Fargo, I don't think of, like, hardcore crime.
I think about, you betcha.
Yeah, you betcha.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, you betcha. No, but on a serious note, Fargo, though, code, Fargo has actually become now a hotbed of criminal activity. It's a college town. So wherever
it's a big town, too, right?
It's about 100,000, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Okay.
And if you want to count everything in, it's about 100,000 people. If you count in, now Moorhead, Fargo are pretty much one city. You got Moorhead, Minnesota, and then you got Fargo, North Dakota, and they really kind of merge into one. There isn't a whole lot of division between the two. And so when people talk about Fargo, they usually consider Moorhead, Fargo area to be one. So about maybe a shade over 100,000 residents there. But then when college starts, it really swells because NDSU is over there.
Okay, so I mean, they have like the varying population, lots of people going in and out, traveling. It could be anybody, but like this is the thing that kind of blows people away every time I say it. And I've said it multiple times, but when people hear it, they always go, "What?" The number one cause of death for pregnant women is murder.
Generally speaking, isn't it usually the father's doing it?
Yes, and that is partly why I brought up this story, because immediately when I found, she was obviously murdered at 8 months pregnant, I'm thinking it's the father, because I hate to say it, but 90% of the time or more, it is the father.
Yeah.
This is not the case with Savannah Greywind.
Do they know who killed her?
They think they do. They've charged 2 people.
Okay, I see their mug shots down there in the article.
Yeah, the woman's looking a little vacant right there.
She looks a little deer in the headlights. He looks like, I'll beat this. What the hell?
He does kind of, yes. William Hain and Brooke Lynn Cruz are charged with conspiracy to commit murder. Miss Cruz, Brooke Cruz, basically presented her boyfriend, William Hain, with an infant and said, "This is our baby now. This is our family."
Okay, so she shows up just out of nowhere with a kid with her, a baby, going, "Hey, this is our new kid."
Well, there was a bunch of blood in her bathroom,
I was going to say,
towels.
Didn't the entrails of the umbilical cord maybe give it away that wasn't her child? But
well, her not being pregnant.
That's horrible. Well, that as well. But then, of course,
just didn't show.
No, he checks the bathtub and sees, I don't know, maybe a corpse.
So they're not exactly. They obviously, I think the murder did occur in her apartment. But the fact that, and this has happened before in criminal cases where somebody wants a baby really badly and they make, friendship with a pregnant woman. And I'm guessing that she either induced labor in Savannah or potentially cut the baby out. We don't know yet. And then they disposed of her body. But the thing that's even worse, if something could be worse about this, is that
kind of bad.
Yeah.
Is that William Hain, the boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
He was previously convicted of fracturing his own infant son's skull.
Oh
my.
So now I'm going to assume the baby is fine.
The baby is fine. The baby is healthy.
So, that is one glimmer of bright news, is the baby is currently here and hopefully will continue to do so, be very, very well. Unfortunately, it will grow up now, A, without a mother, and B, with this horrible story on its birthday.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it is such a horrible thing. I am so glad that the baby is all right and with family, with Savannah's family.
Yeah. And,
what a tragic way to start a life.
I heard this in our local news because we do get a lot of Fargo Moorhead stuff because it is in state. And so I just saw this the other day in the local news, and I watched the story, and they interviewed some people that knew the Brooke Cruz. I just happened to catch our 6 o'clock, and they said she was never right in the head. She was always, but she was just weird, and she was, and he was not exactly the most sanest person in the world, but now that you mention that he was convicted of fracturing his own child's skull, oh, my God, it just, that couldn't get any worse. It really could not get worse. Hopefully now they will be convicted. I know they have to go through trial or whatever, but my Lord, no pun intended, but they caught her red-handed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they did it, but goodness.
Yeah, yeah. So let's move on. That one is that's a buzzkill right there.
Go ahead.
A quick question on it. I mean, was it really that they, or the woman perhaps, wanted a child that badly? I mean, is that the motivation here? Really?
Yes, generally speaking, yes. And maybe they, in these cases, they don't qualify for adoption because they are not mentally stable, so they can't adopt a child through normal means. And I mean, obviously, she wouldn't be able to adopt a child with him. He's got a felony record of abuse toward his own children.
Well, that's exactly the correct. And this child, now, does this, I didn't catch it in the article, the baby, the one, the unfortunate victim, one of the two unfortunate victims, is the father involved? Did the child go to the father, or where's the child currently?
The father was involved, actually, and they had already named the child. It was her boyfriend. It was Savannah's boyfriend. Okay. So the child, I think, is but since he is the boyfriend and not the husband, the child is in the custody of her parents.
Oh, shouldn't he get custody right off the bat? He is the father, after all.
I don't know.
It's some weird law.
I just know that they returned the child to her parents.
Yeah, Minnesota and Fargo both have weird paternity laws in some ways. Like, you have to sign. I'm sure it's nationwide, but I have heard people complain that, hey, I'm the father. Why do I have to sign all this paperwork just to see my own child?
And plus, I don't know. I mean, even though they might have to do DNA tests first to prove that he's the father, too.
Yeah, and see, now, if you're married and your wife gives birth, you're automatically assumed to be the father.
Exactly.
So, now, anywho, moving along away from that gruesome tale of giving birth, let's go on to our next headline. Where would you like to take us next?
I would like to take you to a fellow radio host.
Oh, good. I love fellow radio hosts.
No, how rare is this, though? I don't know how rare this is. I should ask you guys, are there often radio hosts in criminal news?
Oh, my God.
Well, they get murdered sometimes, like Bob Crane.
Well, it's normally the radio hosts are the perpetrators of some very bad things. Over the years working in the radio, I've met some real characters. So that does not surprise me at all that a radio host would be going to jail.
Yeah, but he's like a public figure that everybody loves. He's a morning show host.
Yeah, I was one of those once, and believe me, it's a hard job. It's a hard job. But, okay, let's talk about what he did, though.
Okay, his name is, I don't know if it's Steven or Stefan. It looks like Stefan. Stefan Tubbs, longtime host of KOA's Colorado Morning News.
Oh, I know this guy. I personally know this guy.
Nice.
Didn't he grab Taylor Swift's ass? No.
I don't know. This is this is different.
Okay. I was going to say, that name sounds really familiar because,
that is a current case, though.
It is, because I know that guy, too, because what we used to do is we used to do a lot of Midwesty. And Denver, that area is considered to be in the Midwest market. We would have to do a lot of conventions together. And so sometimes you'd be forced to go. And this guy looks really familiar. I want to say he spoke at one of them. So go ahead.
He's all miles. He's been the host forever. So apparently, so he, obviously, being a radio host, you record everything.
Yes.
Apparently, he also recorded a bunch of sort of domestic violence-ish messages for his wife.
Maybe she gets off on that kind of stuff.
I think that would be the only way he's going to get off on these charges.
You know what I mean?
She says that.
Yeah. She says, "Hey, that kind of turns me on. It makes me randy, baby." Maybe they should come in and say that.
It was all an act. We
were acting. It was role playing. But no, this guy. According to this, he got charged in domestic violence. Why would you record yourself threatening somebody else? I do not know.
I mean, Alec Baldwin famously did that, right? He called his daughter Ireland a pig on a voicemail message.
I do remember that.
His wife, right? But this guy totally one-ups Alec Baldwin, which, by the way, is a hard thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
He left voicemail messages and sent videos and texts.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, my.
Wow, he did it
Using
all.
all the media, all the available media.
He used it all. I'm surprised he did a FaceTime or two going, I hate you. I'm coming to get you.
Maybe he did. And it said, and this is all the article said because they were being very nice. They said he used, quote, vulgar language with the intent to annoy the victim.
They're churching that up. Tubbs was scheduled to make his first court appearance this morning. Continue for for more coverage. I guess we'll keep watching this. Wow. Okay, you're right. They really have a lot on this guy. Damn.
A lot. Like, how do you get it? You can't get out of that. I mean, so tell me, would you automatically lose your job if something that like that happened?
You would think so. See, now we're with iHeartRadio, okay? That's our biggest person. That's our biggest network. Now there is a bit of a moral clause to be on their airwaves, and one of them is you do not threaten to murder people. Is one of them.
Nor do you murder them.
Nor do you murder them. So as long as, if you don't threaten to murder, generally speaking, they give you a wide brush to work with. So, I mean, you could say what's on your mind, but you can't flat out threaten to murder people. Now, he did not do this on air, and had he done this on air, he actually would have been in more trouble because then it would have become a federal case.
Oh, yeah, because it goes out over the airwaves?
FCC would have stepped in, and he actually potentially could have faced a lot more time and or really stiff fines.
Yeah, and it looks like, so he apparently had been on this morning show. So get this, from 1994 to 2017. That's how long.
Wow, he had a long run. Morning show guys, though, they're a little squirrely anyway.
They're kind of weird, aren't they?
They're a little squirrely. I did it for a short time, or I shouldn't say, for about 3 years I did a morning show. And to me, getting up at 4 a.m. just to go tell people what time Nickelback takes a stage did not necessarily seem like something I want to do anymore.
That wasn't fulfilling?
No, not really. Hey, you're listening to the Thunder. Rocking the docks over here, baby. You listen to AM radio. Basically, drive time radio, especially that morning crap is so... I like it because it's cornflake radio, but it's also not very thought-provoking.
No, in the morning it can't be.
No, it's fart sounds and innuendos, pretty much.
Yeah, so much of it's gone in the direction of, although I think it's backed away a little bit, but it went so far in the direction of the shock jock category. So it was just so sophomoric and silly.
It really is. It is. But anyhow, getting back to this guy, and the reason why we're talking about him so much is we only have 2 minutes till break, and I was hoping to make this last long enough till break. This guy, of course, he decides he's going to go ahead and threaten his wife. Not only, like Clarissa said, recording it, but he also made videos of doing it. I'm going to kill you, you dumb.
That's commitment.
You dumb burp. I'm coming to get you, burp. I'm going to burp you up.
It's very silly.
I would play the video.
He did get fired.
Yeah, he did.
I do too.
I would play the video because there is a video here, but it does say extremely explicit.
Really?
So, yeah. I almost click the play button. But I do not want to be on that list of getting out of here because of bad moral decisions throughout.
No, we don't want to be back in the back alley by the dumpster with the punks.
No, we did that once, and we're done with that. We rose above broadcasting from the dumpster.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, we don't want to do that again, so we will keep this very PG. We got to run a break, everyone. When we come back, more of your true crime headlines. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. After Hours AM, the Criminal Code, will be right back after a word from these sponsors.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Growling Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. And, of course, we are talking true crime headlines this first hour. And you've heard me talk about it time and time again, thecriminalcode.com. But I'm going to let Clarissa tell you about thecriminalcode.com, if you wouldn't mind, ma'am.
Yes, it is my blog, my website, where I do profiles of different types of mostly killers. We've got some other different, types of criminals on there and thoughts about current cases. And if you have anybody that you would like me to profile, you can email me there as well and let me know. So it's www.thecriminalcode.com.
And, of course, as always, these next half-hour segment of news headlines, true crime news headlines, that is, are brought to you by thecriminalcode.com. All right, Clarissa, where do you want to go next in the world of craziness that is true crime?
I would like to go to Colorado.
Everybody loves Colorado.
Yes. Okay, when I think of, just a side note, when I think of Colorado, for some reason, I think of like mountains and skiing and peacefulness, but how much crime comes out of Colorado?
Tons.
A lot.
Why? It's peaceful.
Well, it's because it's Colorado.
It's pretty varied, actually. You got all kinds of terrain. You have the eastern half of the state is flat, and that's where Colorado Springs is. And then, of course, you have the world-famous Rocky Mountains, and you have Denver way up high, and that's a really big city. It's one of the biggest cities in that general area in the upper west, and so you're drawing all kinds of people. I mean, it's truly an urban area. So I think the bottom line is you just have a lot of variety, and you also got a lot of money going through there.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it is. Well, yeah, just so many like big cases. The John Benet Ramsey case, like a bunch of stuff out of Colorado. I mean, this is not that.
Well, tell us
at all.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so it is a man named Joshua Witt. He is 26, and he went to police with a very visible wound in his hand, and he told police that he was getting out of his car in the parking lot of a Steak and Shake. Yes, when a man holding a knife approached him, and he said, "All I hear is, 'Are you one of them neo-Nazis?' as this dude is swinging a knife up over my car door at me."
Okay, no.
Yes.
Why would, just backing up just really quickly, so there's random people looking for neo-Nazis to kill, and they choose this guy with a full head of hair?
Well, no, he said it was probably due to his haircut because it was really, really, really short on the sides.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I was a little confused because the guy has almost got long enough in the back to be a ponytail.
I was gonna say he's got the longer hair on top, but the really short on the sides, and so I guess he posted it to social media that this happened to him, and other people started opining, "Oh, it must be because of your short hair," and because he's white, probably.
Okay, so he goes to the cop saying, "Oh my God, I was attacked because I thought I was a neo-Nazi. Now I'm stabbed and all." Okay, why did he feel the need to go to the police?
Well, he wanted to report this horrible incident. He said he threw his hands up to block the knife, and he jumped back into his car and shut the door, and the attacker fled. And then Witt reiterated he's got no tattoos or any other symbols indicating that he follows Nazi beliefs. But you know, it was kind of weird because he posted this to social media, right, with a picture of his hand.
Sure.
And it received over 20,000 comments on Facebook.
Man, that's blazing. That's really, really damn good. We should have him as our PR guy. If we can get 20 grand in comments.
20,000. But as he's doing this, right, police are getting a little suspicious because it's just odd. And there are surveillance cameras near the Steak and Shake, and it didn't show anybody running away as he claimed they did.
So, okay, I see at the top of this article, there's a mugshot with him in it.
Yes,
What's
with the victim in it.
Yes, with the victim. But the victim, the guy that claimed he got stabbed because he's allegedly, or they thought, Joshua's a neo-Nazi, 26-year-old Einstein, brain surgeon kind of guy here, evidently. How did this Einstein end up getting a mugshot?
Well, and this is the best part. The police did their jobs, man. They went over the surveillance footage because they were going to catch this person.
Oh, sure.
And what they saw was Witt, the victim, going into a nearby sporting goods store where he bought a small knife minutes before the alleged attack.
Okay.
And when he was confronted by police, Mr. Witt subsequently admitted that he accidentally cut himself with the knife while parked in the car in front of the sporting goods store.
Oh, how do you go from, oh, crap, I slipped and cut myself, to neo-Nazi, that was a neo-Nazi? What part of his brain process would make him want to say, yeah, by the way, I was cut up by some neo-Nazi hunters. Yeah, it was pretty bad. I closed my car door and they ran away. So one of the police, and they believed me until they realized I'm a total phony.
I'm like, what, does he have an insurance policy that only covers victims of random attacks or what?
Yeah. So, I guess what I'm missing here, and I'm trying to desperately find it, what did he gain from going to the police to report this false incident?
Well, he didn't get anything from the police. I think that his secondary gain from this was going to Facebook because, 20,000 comments. He became semi-famous.
You know what? Casey Anthony somewhere's going, damn, you got a lot of people comment on your stuff.
It's true, right? So he gets semi-famous and everybody is sort of feeling sorry for him. It's the sympathy.
Man, Casey, Jody Ayers, and OJ are all looking at this guy going, man, we got the wrong PR dude.
I know. You got to get his haircut.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a couple questions. Is the guy, in fact, a neo-Nazi?
Not that I'm aware of.
Or a moron. That could be more.
He's not.
Okay, yeah. So when do we think he actually came up with that approach? Was it after he put it up on the pictures up on Facebook and was getting that response? Did someone else come up with that idea and he said, oh, yeah, that'll be good? And he went that way, or was it all of his own device?
That's a good question. I don't know when he went to police. I would assume that it would have been right afterwards. And then he posted to social media, but you never know. You're right. He could have gone home or taken a picture right there in the parking lot and posted and then got the idea and gone to police. Maybe somebody said, hey, if you were truly attacked by somebody out to get neo-Nazis, you should go to the cops.
I'd be angry if I was that Alan Berg guy, that link that's sitting there that says radio host shot to death by neo-Nazi listeners.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, an actual victim.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so.
I'm mad at anybody that takes up law enforcement or first responders' time with anything fake. I think I do hope that they are charged to the full extent of the law. And as I can see here, it looks like Joshua Witt was definitely charged. He's standing there in a mugshot.
Is he a felon now? Is it a felony or is it a misdemeanor?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a misdemeanor. He was charged with falsely reporting an incident. So.
Yeah, that rocket scientist. I tell you, wow, that's pretty crazy.
Secondary charges were crappy hairdo and being a dumbass.
Felonious stupidity.
How do you? What kind of knife was it that he immediately cut himself with?
It was a really cheap buck knife.
I wasn't supposed to grab the sharp end. Silly me.
Yeah.
What happened? There's so many questions, Mr. Witt.
I would love to get him on the air just to say, hey, what kind of knife was it? And how deep did you cut? And why did you feel the need to run to the police or Facebook and show them that you're a moron?
And that last name, that's perfect.
Exactly.
Did you guys click on the picture of his hand in this article?
Let me go back and click on
Holy
that picture
crap,
of his
did he
hand.
cut that thing?
Let's see.
Oh my God! How did you accidentally do that?
Maybe he did it on purpose. Maybe it's even weirder than we think.
I know, right? Because that is a lot of blood.
That's a pretty big cut right there.
Look at the blood on his jeans. It looks like he slaughtered an animal.
It looks like he works at the slaughterhouse.
Oh my goodness!
Wow, man, this guy is something else. Well, stupid is stupid, and that guy is definitely stupid. That's your fix for dumb criminal. But I gotta say, I do see a Florida story in our future. So maybe, just maybe, we have a runner-up for stupidity.
What? Never. So we do have at least one Florida case here. It is a man who also called authorities because that's what you're supposed to do when things go wrong.
Well, so, I would assume so. Yeah. Well, if I was robbed, I'd be calling the cops.
Exactly. He was robbed, Joel. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to call somebody, so he called 911.
Sure.
Because he was robbed.
Well, okay, now. Oh boy. So the guy calls 911, and I gotta break this one. Sorry, Clarissa.
No, go for it.
Self-described Florida drug dealer calls 911. Are you kidding me? Wow.
I'm not quite sure how that's gonna go down.
Someone entered his car and took $50 and a quarter ounce of cocaine from the center console. Wouldn't that be an occupational hazard, being a drug dealer? And number two, wouldn't you lock your car if you're a drug dealer? I'm just saying, security people, security.
Dude, if you're a truly badass drug dealer, you don't have to lock your car, and you don't call the cops. Just saying.
But he's a poser.
Uh-huh.
He's a poser.
Watch, he'll show up. I didn't say that. Anyway, he reported to the cops. He called 911, said, I've been robbed. My car's been robbed. And then they get there, and the deputy gets to the car. They're like, okay, sir, how do we help you? They spot some cocaine, a crack rock, and a crack pipe on the floorboard by the driver's side door.
Oh, that is such a smart move, calling the cops, and your car is full of drugs. Wow. They became less and less worried about whoever stole the stuff, and they're more interested in him, I'm going to bet.
Well, apparently, because they have a really nice mugshot of him here. He does not look happy.
Oh, no, he's trying to do that badass look like, yeah, I'll rule the prison. You don't got to worry about me.
Let me just tell you, when they ask him why he's there, he's not going to be ruling anything. I don't even know how you describe that.
Yeah, they're going to pass him around like currency.
Like, why are you in here? Well, I called 911 to report being stolen. My drugs were stolen. Like, I don't know if he looks angry at the cops or if he's more confused. Like, I called 911. He
looks like I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to assume he doesn't have a high school diploma.
Oh man, I just couldn't.
Well, the reason why I say that.
He couldn't get rid of the crack pipe first?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Maybe a little bit of tidying up.
Oh, sure.
Clean the police arrive.
Clean the scene, man. Clean the scene.
Yeah, and maybe just say that somebody stole $50. Because if you tell them about the quarter ounce of coke, things just change for you.
Well, they do change a little bit, and like I said,
they spiral out of control.
By nightfall, he's gonna have a husband, and he'll be passed around like currency for a pack of cigarettes and a Snickers bar.
Okay. I almost feel sorry for him actually now. I don't know what he was thinking. I'm thinking he was probably very, very high.
I'm going to assume either that or you really need that $50.
I don't know. I mean, he had crack, so he couldn't have needed the cocaine that badly. I don't know.
No. It's all about it's not even the Benjamins.
No.
It's the Roosevelt, right? Isn't that 50? Is Roosevelt? Jackson or whatever? Yeah, or Hamilton? I don't even know who's on a 50 anymore. I so rarely see
Grant.
them.
Isn't it Grant?
I think so. I so rarely see them having children and a wife. But what I'm saying is this guy, wow, okay, that's enough of this guy. He's got to get out of here. Okay, Clarissa.
Grant. It's good old Ulysses.
Yeah, I can only handle so much stupidity. And this next one, oh, my Lord, this is just disgustingly gross.
Are you talking about the child one?
I am from the Telegraph.
Yeah, so this is from the UK, and normally I don't take a lot of stories from overseas, but I had to because of the weirdness of it. This just happened too. This was the 29th of August. A man was charged with viewing child pornography, and he said he didn't know that he was looking at images of. So, by the way, I should say where he is in the UK, you can look at porn down to 16 years of age.
Ah,
okay,
gotcha. Okay.
So, but he didn't know that some of these pictures, these photos, were of kids that were under 16, is what he said. Yes. So Andrew Shaw, 44, was aided into the Blackpool Magistrates Court by his black Labrador guide dog. Can you guess why he was being led into the court by a guide dog?
Because he's blind.
Yeah. Yes.
So a blind man is looking at...
How is he viewing
exactly
child pornography?
Well, he did have 71 downloaded obscene images of children on his computer. They said 12 of the images were alleged to be really terrible. And the report is that he has an unusual case. The client is registered blind. He has no sight at all in one eye and a very small amount of sight in the other.
So when they say this is really, really horrible, does he say, I don't know, I haven't seen him?
It may be argued that difficulty with his vision makes it difficult for him to put an age to the images that he downloads. So he may think he's looking at 16-year-olds, as though that makes it better.
Yeah, right. So the blind man goes in to look at... Why a blind man would own a computer, number one, is a question, really.
That's going to help.
You know,
I'm getting eye strain. I don't know why.
You know, I'm sure he's doing it so he can, I don't know, read a few books here and there. But why a blind man would own a computer, number one? Normally I have seen people that that have vision issues that do own computers, but they're like audio type programs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all or braille when they're typed, stuff like that. So really, they don't even need a monitor because it's all done via, sounds, bells, whistles, that kind of stuff. This guy has a full-blown computer, and he's downloading child porn, and yet he has a guard dog. Now, tell me that they are... Did they grant this guy bail?
They did grant him bail. I have no idea what the charges are going to be or what the penalty might be, but yeah, he was granted bail, and he and his dog went home, I guess.
Maybe the dog did it.
That's what I was going to say. I'm surprised he didn't blame the dog.
My dog is a real
dog too.
My real dog he's pretty sick. Let me tell you. I try to tell him to stop, but he just won't stop. What the hell?
It's an addiction.
It's an addiction. A damn dog. He's a real dog. Let me tell you.
He's 71 images. I don't know. I don't know how it works, but don't you have to search for that sort of a thing?
Well, generally, yeah. There's keywords involved and something called the dark web. You have to actually get onto.
You're not guessing.
And so it's not like it's on your normal everyday old adult sites. You're
not going to Amazon for this.
Exactly. I mean, there are adult sites out there that, because let's just be honest, the internet's put the porn business all but under. And so, of course, you got to go to the dark web to get that kind of stuff. And so that
scares me. What do you people know about that?
I don't know anything.
You guys are more into that.
I have heard about it in conspiracy theories that there's a lot of stuff you can access in the dark web that we can't get on the normal internet. And I think they're just, if I'm not mistaken, Eric, they're just seedy sites, right? There's no real dark web. They're just
explain this to me.
Sites that are just kind of more on the seedier side, right?
It's basically, and I'm not directly involved myself either, but my understanding of it is you're really just talking about closed groups. So you can't get in there and see what they're making available unless you're a member. So that's the bottom line. It'd be just like you can't see a closed Facebook group either, So I mean that's really what it is. Well, it just means it's not open to the general public. You have to join.
I have the actual definition of the dark web right here. Ooh. Thank you, Wikipedia.
All right.
The dark web is an encrypted network that exists between Tor servers and their clients, whereas the deep web is simply the content of a database i.e. as in Facebook groups that you cannot access if you're not a member. The dark web is completely different. It is something that's clandestine and only accessible on certain computers that
I was going to say, you need Tor. I did know that.
Using a PH or a peer system where you actually have to log into these dark web servers. But generally speaking, it goes on to say the dark web is usually responsible for things such as child porn, snuff films, and several other deviant activities. Then that is where you'd find it, is on the dark web. Thank God I'm not on the dark web.
No, and just for everyone that may be listening, I have no intention of ever looking.
No, oh yeah, me neither. No,
me neither.
No, I'd never go on the dark web, never again. Let me tell you, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
I know, it creeps me out. It really creeps me out.
When they're selling, people, that's where I drew the line. I'm done. I can't afford it. No, I'm kidding. And
Hitmen and all that, I've heard.
Yeah, everyone's seen movies where it involves the dark web, right? If you've seen any espionage movie or movie where they're selling people in slave trade, stuff like that, they always reference the dark web. The dark web.
There's any silly stuff on the dark web, old episodes of the Muppets.
I'm sure that there's no cats playing with string on the dark web.
Bummer. I'm out.
I don't think that there's funny cat videos at all, unless they're dark cats.
Black cats only. Really creepy ones.
Hey, I have one of those, and his name is Blackness.
See? Perfect.
Yeah, I should make videos of him put on the dark web. Okay, one more. I know we got one more here.
This one also features an animal.
Oh, boy. All right, then.
But this animal, unlike the dog, the criminal dog of the last one, no, this animal is a hero. Okay. And this happened in Michigan.
Okay.
A Michigan woman has been, as of August 29th, she has been sentenced to life in prison for the shooting death of her husband in a crime that was witnessed by their parrot.
Whoa.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to take this seriously, but I have some serious anxiety about birds. I had an incident. So I'm trying to take this seriously now. But
what kind of incident?
Oh my God. My grandmother, years ago when I was 16, 17 years old, she, bless her soul, she's no longer with us, went on a week-long trip to down south with my folks, so Alabama, basically a Gulf Coast tour. She was getting up in years. And she had a parrot named Oscar. And, of course, and it was a standard parrot, big parrot, huge parrot. I mean, this thing was huge, and it was mean. I mean, mean. It would sit there and say, F you, for no good reason, right? You just walk by, I hate you, things like that. And so, of course, I drew the short straw amongst my siblings to be the one to take care of Oscar. That also meant cleaning the cage of Oscar. All right? So the day came that I had to clean the cage. Now, there was the main cage where Oscar was happily just swinging away, swearing at me as I walked in, while he's whistling the Andy Griffith theme, between Andy Griffith and swearing. Okay, he was fine. It was time. It was time to clean the cage. So I go up to Oscar. Oscar the parrot, I say, hey, man, you don't like me. I don't like you. Okay? This is the same parrot that broke my sister's finger by biting it. All right?
Oh, my God.
So this thing already had a history of bloodshed. All right, it wasn't like it was an innocent parrot here. It had already had a record. It already had a record. It's already perpetrated assaults. Okay, so I go up this cage. I go, okay, Oscar, man, it's you and me. Okay, we're gonna do this the easy way or the hard way. It's entirely up to you. So I open the auxiliary cage, the one that's already clean, waiting for Oscar to go in. His smaller auxiliary cage, not his habitat cage. Which there is a difference. I didn't know this at the time, but there is a difference. I open the auxiliary cage, and then I turn and I open the habitat cage. That bird came at me like a pissed off Chuck Norris. It was kicking my butt while it was swearing at me. That thing was pecking at me. It was biting at me. Its talons are all over me, and I'm trying to fend this thing off. Mind you, I am frantically fighting for my life here. It was between me and Oscar, and only one of us was leaving. All right, and he would have had the upper hand. This bird, let me tell you, you might laugh now. It could have been a UFC fighter. I'm telling you, this bird had moves. So it's attacking me, right? And it's swearing at me. Hey, you sorry, I'm gonna hit you, and while it's beating me up. So I grab my grandma. Everybody's grandmother always, throughout the history of time, annals of time, has always had a blanket on the back of the couch. I don't care who your grandma was. Usually. Yes. Always an Afghan or a blanket, decorative, on the back of the couch. I reach for this blanket, this savior. This is my savior. Let me tell you, this blanket was going to even the odds. So I take this blanket while it's flapping its wings, while it's trying to murder me, while it's trying to get my neck and bite my carotid artery. I grab it and I throw the blanket over it. And I heard a thud. I mean, a hard thud. Like, oh crap. Did I just kill Oscar, the pissed off, homicidal parrot? And so I poked it. I poked it a little bit after it was on the ground with a broom handle, and no movement happened. Okay, I'm like, at that point, I'm like, oh my God, my grandmother loves this bird. When she's around, he's as sweet as pie. Gets on her little shoulder, and they have a great day together. And he kisses her, and she feeds him crackers. She doesn't see the evil side of Oscar, but everybody else does. But see, I just think I just killed Oscar. So I'm thinking to myself, where can I go get another bird this time of night? So I lift the blanket, thinking I murdered Oscar. Oscar, the devil's own parrot. I lift slowly, like in a horror movie, slowly lift the blanket. It springs to life and comes back at me. I had to leave her apartment. I had to leave the apartment.
You just left him out?
I did. I had no choice. I was bloodied. You don't seem to understand. I was bloodied and beaten. So I called my father. This is the days before cell phones. They called to check in, and he's like, did you take care of Oscar? Well, funny you should ask, Dad. I had an incident. What kind of incident? Is the bird okay? Well, what about me? Aren't you going to ask about me? I told him. He says, you get back in there and you show that bird who's boss. Come on, it's a bird. Oh my God, I go back in there and it's waiting. It looks just like that scene from The Exorcist when its head turns around. We've been expecting you. And it was on again. I eventually did win, but it took a lot of crackers and a lot of me running in and out of the apartment before I did win. But I tried the blanket again. He was wise to it. He dodged it to the left and he proceeded to kill me. So that's my story, and that's why I had anxiety about the bird. Let's move on to this story.
Well, okay, so this is not Oscar's evil twin, which is a good thing, right? Oh, so God, this Oscar. Bird, it also a parrot that talks, okay? So a 49-year-old Glenna Durham of Sand Lake was accused of killing her husband with 5 gunshots in May of 2015. Oh. But the thing is Glenna also suffered a head wound from a bullet. And so in the beginning, she was, I think, telling a story that, somebody broke in, that sort of a thing. However, Martin's ex-wife, Christina Keller, said that after the slaying, the pet parrot named Bud, kept repeating, don't blank and shoot, in Martin Durham's voice.
Oh, my.
Even use his voice?
Yeah,
wow.
Well, and parrots can mimic voices. They can.
Oh, yeah, no, the one that I had my brief encounter with, of the demonic type, well, he could do that as well, except he liked to talk like Andy Griffith from the show, because she'd always have that on.
Whatever they hear the most. And so since Martin lived with him, that's the voice he heard the most. And Keller had taken ownership of the bird after Martin's death, and they allowed this testimony in court. Huh. And that was the nail in the coffin for Glenna.
Interesting. See, now my bird encounter, when I did walk in and it turned its head like The Exorcist, it started, I'm not lying here, it started whistling the theme to The Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
I love that Morricone.
That's when I knew I was done for. But anyhow, yeah, exactly. Don't do that to me, Clarissa. I can't even watch that movie to this day.
No, that's Eric.
Oh, Eric, I can't even watch that movie to this day. And exactly, I cannot do it. I cannot watch spaghetti westerns this day because of that whole incident. And of course, Bookham Dano was used as well when he was beating me up. Anyhow, we got to run to break. We come back. We got to shift gears. Something we're going to be talking with Richard Roth, and he is an attorney at law. But we're also going to be talking about the wrongful death case Joel Silver. I mean, he's not dead, but someone's suing him over someone else that did die at an event that he was a part of. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. Hey, you listen to After Hours AM, and if you're listening to us via podcast, make sure you like us, follow us, review us, tell your friends about us, tell grandma about us, and keep listening.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
Hi, I'm Kip Parker. And I'm Charlie Parker. And we're the Parker Brothers. Hey, Charlie, what's missing from our game catalog? I don't know, Kip. Tell me. Well, you can't talk to the dead. You sure as hell can. That's why we got this brand new game called Ouija. Ouija? Well, break that down for me. Well, it's Wii because you're having a great time. And G, it's because G, aren't you having a blast because you're having a good time with the Wii. It looks like it spelled like a Chinaman got caught in there. Don't question it. Well, Ouija, Kip, tell me about it. Well, inside the package comes a flat board with all the letters of the alphabet, numbers from 0 to 9, and a yes-no written out by itself. Well, that sounds like a lot of stuff going on. It's got a lot of stuff going on indeed, Charlie. It also comes with this planchette, which hovers over the letters the dead are trying to tell you. Well, how does that work, Chip? Well, you ask the question, and then the dead move your hands in the direction of the answers. That sounds like a heck of a way to find Grandpa's slave money. Turns out it was in the attic. But the questions don't have to be as serious as slavery. You can also find out if Sally's got a crush on you. The dead like to answer all sorts of trivial questions. Feels like they'd have better things to do with their time, Kip. No, lost souls are lost forever, and they're really glad to help. Well, gee, Kip, can't you just get any sort of board with numbers and letters and talk to the dead? The dead prefer quality like anybody else. Quality you can only find at Parker & Parker.
The Ouija board, brought to you by the Parker Brothers, available in both white and colored wallworks. Separate but equal savings.
You're listening to After Hours AM. Do you have a question for the guest or even the host? That's really easy. Go ahead and email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Are you feeling like picking up the phone and being part of the show? Call us at 612-326-6874, 612-326-6874. Come be part of the madness. Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody, the criminal code, and I have recomposed myself. I actually told the full tale of my battle with a parrot, so if you did miss hour 1, you're going to want to go back and listen to that whole tale, because I will never tell that again. As long as I do radio, I will never tell that tale ever again. Now, we got a great guest tonight, Eric and Clarissa. We actually, and I'll let Eric tell you, but man, it's quite the case we're going to be covering. Not only quite the case, but quite the person we have on air with us. So who do we have tonight, sir?
Well, my friends, is being a celebrity an advantage in dealing with the law, a.k.a. OJ, Robert Blake, or a disadvantage? Nearly 2 years after Jennifer Aniston and Justin Theroux's honeymoon, famed film producer Joel Silver is being sued for the wrongful death of his assistant, Carmel Musgrove, in Bora Bora. New York City attorney and entertainment law expert Richard Roth will discuss the case, where Musgrove's parents are suing Silver and his personal chef for wrongful death in their 28-year-old daughter's drowning. Musgrove drowned in a Bora Bora lagoon while traveling with her employer for the honeymoon of Aniston and Theroux. Reports claim the deceased had consumed a number of drugs and alcohol while being fatigued from overwork. Those, along with other factors, perhaps led to Carmel Musgrove's death, are traceable to the defendants' involvement. Richard A. Roth is highly regarded by his colleagues, adversaries, judges, and peers for his strong litigation experience, aggressive nature, like a bird, and innovative out-of-the-box thinking. Earning a long string of successes on both a national and international level, Mr. Roth has represented publicly held corporations, privately held businesses, CEOs, industry magnates, as well as celebrities, athletes, and professional sports organizations. Mr. Roth and his firm have the distinguished honor of being ranked first in the nation in bestattorneysonline.com for entertainment litigation and securities litigation. And my friends, I encourage you to go to the website America's-most-haunted.com and check out the rest of this amazing biography. Welcome to the program, Richard Roth.
Wow, I'm humbled by that introduction. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be on your crazy Chuck Norris parrot show.
Well, thank you.
That's how we describe it to everyone.
That's exactly how we describe it every time, with a little bit of good, bad, and ugly thrown in just for good measure. Now,
Thank you.
after hearing Eric's opener, and again, you are the best in the business, Eric, by the way. Now, Richard, it would seem on the outside looking in that the rich and powerful and famous, which I'm none of those, are more of a target for civil lawsuits than anyone else. Am I far off base on that one?
Oh, you are 100% on target. It's absolutely true. People are enamored by the celebs, and they see the celebs every day. They see them in Entertainment Tonight. They see them in People magazine. They see them in award shows, and they love them. They're their best friends. So, when they see them at a jury trial, there's a whole outpouring of affection for them. It's very, they have a tremendous advantage in this wacky world of trials that I live. So there's no question about it.
So they have
also.
Oh, go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, so that's the one side of the coin, and that's very interesting to hear. It would seem from the cases that you look at from the outside that would be the case. The other side of it is, though, from a civil standpoint, do celebrities tend to be targets of lawsuits more often than, say, other people with the same amount of money that they do?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You can take the Taylor Swift incident, which happened just last week. So Taylor Swift was apparently treated poorly, let's say, by an individual who sues her for millions of dollars for defamation. She literally counterclaims for $1, saying you groped me, and she wins. And why? Because if I'm a juror somewhere in the Midwest, or actually it was in the West Coast, and I see Taylor Swift taking the stand, it's almost like I don't care what she says. I just love her. That's the way jurors are. Whether it's that or the O.J. Simpson case, even, which is, probably the most horrific of results. Everyone loves a superstar. So that is true. And the same token, as you just said, superstars are targets. They have money. So Taylor Swift was a target. The guy sued her for millions of dollars for defamation. And when you have money, you're a target by all kinds of people, particularly individuals who, want to sue you. I can't tell you how many times an athlete has come to me. They've been in a bar, and they barely got into a fight, and someone sued them for, wrongfully touching them or hitting them or defaming them or doing something inappropriate with them. So they're very much a target because they do have a lot of money. And we live in a wonderful world where you're not really paying your lawyer's fees. A lawyer can do it on a contingency, unlike many other countries, including Great Britain. So you go to a cocktail party. Hey, I was at a bar with this athlete, and he punched me. Oh, let's sue him.
Yeah.
And the client says, why not? What do I have to lose?
Exactly.
It's a crazy society we live in.
Covering sports for other radio stations over the years, I actually got to know guys like Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning, to me, as a radio personality was every bit the guy you see on TV. I mean, he doesn't change for nobody. And to be honest with you, I was shocked like when his stuff came out. And I'm like, no way, not Peyton. Come on.
That's exactly right. He is the sweetest guy. I mean, I represented Peyton a few years ago, and to this day when I run into him, he always, from 100 feet away, he'll look at me and say, "Hey, Rich, how are you?" He's just a nice guy, and that's just it. He was definitely the subject of the whole, drug issues. It happens. I mean, when I represented him, he had a guy who was a memorabilia guy who just failed to pay him.
Yeah.
And so they sue them and they fail to pay them. And the rationale is, it's sort of messed up, but the rationale is they have more money than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can do something to get some of their money. It's just the way people think. It's messed up, but it's very true. It's very true. Peyton is one of them.
Well, they had to known, like Peyton Manning, for instance, so every time I interviewed him, he'd go out of his way to ask me how I was doing. I'm like, whoa. Normally they don't ask that. And he really meant it. So when that came down the pipe, that, the whole doping thing and this and that, I'm like, yeah, that a lot of things have happened in this world, but that's not one of them.
Yeah, and it's funny because you compare him to other quarterbacks. This guy is such not like, Tom Brady's this really he's a superstar, but he's also like a Hollywooder. Peyton Manning is not a Hollywooder. Peyton Manning is salt of the earth.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. And luckily for him, I think for the most part, those allegations just bounced off. But it does stick. There's a lot of people out there that take advantage of the fact that you're a personality, you're a celebrity, you're a star, you're a recording artist, you're an athlete, and they're not.
Well, to be completely honest,
it really creates for a lot of litigation.
Even go ahead.
I just want to throw out there that nobody would ever mistake Tom Brady for being a nice guy. I mean, do you watch him on the sidelines? Seriously.
He is exactly. I mean,
he screams
he's a winner.
constantly.
Listen, I'm in New York, so I'm certainly not a New England Patriots fan. He's a winner, but he's not a nice guy.
No.
And he's not. Peyton Manning is a winner, but he's just a nice guy. You could see it when you hear about it in his voice. You see it when you see him on television. Tom Brady is a phenomenal athlete, but I wouldn't put him, as a guy. It wouldn't be my best buddy.
Well, a quick Peyton Manning story. When I was interviewing him years ago, Hurricane Katrina was taking place. And he didn't want to talk about sports with me. He wanted to talk about getting people to volunteer to go down and help. He wanted to put sports away because that's his home. He's from down there, and that was really what he wanted to focus on, not his accolades or how the season was going to go or anything football. It kind of took me back where he's like, I love football and all, but I love my home more. So let's talk about Hurricane Katrina if we can. And that spoke volumes to me.
Very deep roots there. No, that's him. It's a very deep roots there. And it's a credit. And he's not alone. There are many celebrities, athletes. I remember Harry Connick when he went after the Katrina, ran down to help out because he was also a local. And at the end of the day, some of them are sort of swayed by their success and their money.
Sure.
I'd put Tom Brady in that category. Some of them are not. And I'd put Peyton, I'd put his brother Eli in that category.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of National Hockey League players who are just because I happen to know that sport as well as any other, just salt of the earth people. And you get into some of the NBA and these guys are making ridiculous amounts of money. There's this sort of delusions of grandeur. They think they're more important than they really are. Listen, it's their problem, not ours.
Well, I was going to say, though, Richard, on the flip side, you take a kid out of poverty, rough living, you give him a $10 million contract, and he still has the mindset of, back home. It's hard to imagine them not getting a little bit of trouble, because
it's true. And I will tell you, the leagues, each league has put major money and have major incentives in trying to get these kids off the streets, making them realize that when they're making $10, $15, $20 million a year and they walk into a bar on Saturday night at 3 a.m, they're going to have somebody that's going to grab them, that's going to taunt them. And there's major efforts by the leagues, particularly the NFL, especially since the stuff that went down there the last few years, to try to get these kids to realize that they're going to get a ridiculous paycheck and everyone's going to want it. I think they've met with some success,
Yeah.
You have somebody like Aaron Hernandez of the world that are like the worst in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, they try to put a lot of time and money into telling these kids that they should really be responsible. They're very fortunate, and they should really understand and be responsible for who they are now, and not be the thug that they were. Not always successful.
No, unfortunately, it's not. But actually, I can say, speaking for all of us, but mainly Eric and I, man, we're national radio hosts, so we've had similar issues go down where people were jealous. You know what I mean? So I kind of, in a small microcosm, understand that. Because you're a public figure.
I give you that. I have the same thing in a microcosm. It's a very small portion of it. So imagine you're now making $20 million a year, $30 million a year, and you're on television, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, hockey, every week. And you have these people that just adore you, and they're fans. And now all of a sudden, you're a celeb. And it's true in sports as well as every industry.
Industry. I definitely agree
there's
with
some
you.
guys. So I represent Neo. I don't know if you know Neo. He's a phenomenal guy. Sweet guy from Atlanta, Georgia. Really, again, he'll just do whatever he has to for you. It's not all about him. So there's a lot of guys out there that are like that. Even in that world, even in the R&B rap world, which has got probably the most negative connotations.
Well, let's get into this case that was sort of the impetus for this in the first place. So for those who don't know, and I heard about it when it happened. I'm not like super celeb following, but you hear about stuff. So I was vaguely aware of it, but I had forgotten really and probably never knew the real details. So if you could present it to us and then just give us your opinion on is this valid? Does this make sense? And just your thoughts on it. And we'd love to hear your response to Clarissa. Clarissa is our resident forensic psychologist, so she has a very interesting and relevant perspective on crime. Normally we're covering kind of, serial killers and murder cases and whatnot, but we thought this one was interesting, and we haven't really gotten into the celebrity side of things much, so we thought it would be great to talk to you and get your perspective on this. So let's get into that case.
Sure. So, Sure. So Carmel Musgrove, her estate, has sued Joel Silver Pictures, and several John Does for her wrongful death during the honeymoon, Jennifer Aniston's honeymoon. And the thing about this complaint in particular, which I've read now numerous times and I've been interviewed on a few times, it's excruciatingly detailed. By that I mean that it goes through by hour what Miss Musgrove was doing on the nights of August 9th, August 15th, August 18th, 2015. And it literally goes 8 p.m. she had dinner, she went to a movie, there's some allegations of drugs, she apparently went skinny dipping twice. And they really paint a very detailed picture of how there was massive drugs going on, and how essentially the defendants, as alleged, just dropped the ball and should have done something before they found her, dead. That's essentially what the case is about.
How did they? I wanted to ask about that because I was reading through the complaint as well, and I actually was thinking, how do they know in this amount of detail everything that she was doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I also had the same question, but some of the allegations talk about the police report. So I can only assume, because this is not public information, that the police report or some form of public information was provided to the family, because they have what they call inventories in the police report. They talk about other things in the police report. So the only thing I can logically assume, this was all gathered by the investigative team on the public side, who essentially went into excruciating detail about where she was, what she was doing, and what happened that evening.
Richard, the devil's advocate in me wants to come out and say, yeah, but no one made her drink, no one made her snort coke, and no one made her smoke pot. And no one made her skinny dip.
Or go
here's the deal. Yes and no. I agree with you 100%. However, the devil's in the details. We don't know who she was with, if she was with her employers, how innocent she was, whether or not they essentially said, just try this once or twice. You just don't know what extent there was pressure. I agree with you. Someone of that age should very well have, been smart, sophisticated, knowledgeable, that you just have to limit your intake. But I don't know. We don't know enough about her, nor will we, other than what we hear from the family or friends. So I do agree with you that there's a certain date, a certain time in your life, you have to take responsibility for your actions. We don't know to what extent she was, this was thrust upon her.
I mean, that's what really struck me about it, is that at 28, I was a full-on practicing psychologist in San Quentin.
Exactly.
My judgment was pretty darn good by 28. I mean, not perfect, but pretty good. And so I'm thinking, wow, she's quite old for this type of lawsuit to be going forward. But the other thing that struck me as a psychologist is that I can only imagine the grief that the family would be going through, knowing that their daughter died in such a way, because it is kind of salacious, because it's connected to celebrities and drugs, and I'm sure that's not how they would want her remembered ultimately. So I think a lot of times when people have a lot of grief, like when I see civil cases brought against criminals, for instance, a lot of times it's because of the grief of the family.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Again, we don't know whether or not the family that was saying my daughter was wrong, we were wronged, we lost a life, we want to sue, or if, again, they were at a cocktail party and they said, you know what, we can't bring her back, but we can try to find someone responsible for it and get a lot of money. We just don't know. We don't know what the truth is. But generally, I go toward the cynicism in me goes toward the side of a lawyer saying, let's sue and get money for you because you can never get your daughter back.
Well, true.
And that, I think, is part of it.
And Richard, just for full disclosure, you're not representing you in this case. Am I correct?
No one.
Okay, just so we get that out of the way, so when someone doesn't say,
no, absolutely. I don't represent anyone, but I've had enough of these cases where there's an insurance carrier, presumably, which has a huge insurance policy, and if they press the right buttons, they can essentially get the right media. They can try to get a nice big lump of money from them, and that's what this is in part about. I mean, there may have been wrongdoing. I don't know, but she was 28 years old, and I hear
Richard. To be completely honest, you I've sat on juries over the years, being picked for jury duty on civil trials. And I would have a hard time, if I was that attorney trying to make the case of, her not knowing better, I'd have a hard time doing it. Because 28 years old, most of us remember when we were 28 and we're all graduate college by then, and those years are behind us, and most of us have our careers, and you see where I'm going with that. I would
absolutely. I mean, I'm looking. I'm literally reading from the complaint. At paragraph 38, it says, at approximately 10:20 p.m., Carmel visited defendant Harold in his bungalow, and for the next hour or so, he furnished Carmel with additional alcohol, marijuana, and cocaine. Well, all he's doing is saying, "Do you want it?"
Yeah.
And he's going to be the one to say yes. There's no, forced drug use here. So I hear you. I mean, she's 28 years old. There's a if you will, a potpourri of drugs or alcohol on the table, and she can say no. It's that simple.
Now, Richard, I don't want to pin you down, but I'm going to pin you down. When this goes to trial, which way do you think it's going to go?
So, okay, I'll let you pin me down, and I will give you a guess as an answer, and it's a guess because it all comes down to the evidence. It comes down to the documents. What do the emails say? What did the forensics show where she was, when she was? There's a whole discussion here about at 7:04 a.m., she got an email. What did that email say? There's a discussion about her going skinny dipping and like ridiculous, like 8 a.m. or so. So I don't know it's hard to know without knowing the evidence. I will tell you, though, that it's very I go with your first gut that if this goes to trial, I don't think it ever will, but if it goes to trial, I think she's going to have a very, very hard time proving her case in light of the fact that she's a 28-year-old and she was, out having a good time all night and no one really knew. I don't think anyone ever really – the wrongful death angle is very, very difficult. It's a tough case to prove.
All right, let me be the devil's advocate, and we'll flip it around one more time. All right, so she's 28. That's somewhat relevant, of course. She's not a brand new adult. She is still in her 20s. She's a millennial. In that environment, all right, so she is the personal assistant to world famous and I'm sure extraordinarily wealthy and powerful Joel Silver. So how did she get that position? What does that position mean to her? What is she hoping to achieve via that position? So those are the kinds of things I would be looking into in terms of where that pressure came from. Now, why is it Joel Silver himself who is included in this? Because I haven't heard anything yet that says he participated personally, or did I miss something?
No, the only allegation about let me get to this immediate question, and we'll deal with a bigger picture. The only allegation of Joel Silver is that he knocked on her door at 6:30 p.m. on August 19th, the next day, and he found out there was no one inside, and he saw the bay window was open, and then she was subsequently found in a nearby lagoon. So there's really no allegation he was involved in the drugs or the alcohol or any of that stuff during the day. So that being said, remember what we discussed earlier was the fact that the celebrities have this sort of free pass. Joel Silver is not someone that people know. They don't see him on TV. They don't see him in the news. He's a huge man in his own right, but he's not in front of the camera. So I don't know if he'll get the same, if you will, benefit as would all of the celebs that we discussed. It's a little different story. Mm-hmm. He's a successful movie guy.
He's an entrepreneur.
Which people know.
Over the years, I've actually interviewed Joel Silver, mainly to talk about production of film, stuff like that over the years, for big blockbusters he was producer of, stuff like that. And he did not strike me as somebody that is, of course, would fall prey to something like this.
Yeah, he's huge. I just don't know if people know him like they know, celebs who are in front of the camera. But as far as this goes, they listen, you want to, at the end of the day, any plaintiff's lawyer, and I unfortunately have that same modus operandi, if you will, you want to name individuals and companies that are the deep pocket and have the big insurance.
Yep.
And Joel Silver's a deep pocket, and Silver Pictures has big insurance here.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, exactly. And you hit the nail right on the head. They're not necessarily after him personally. They're after the insurance that might be attached to him.
Back to my question, though. As someone who's been in that business, it sounds like you really are dialed in, and you know a lot of these people on a pretty casual basis. It sounds like. What are your thoughts on the questions of pressure, the peer pressure, the keeping her job? Would she be feeling that she had to participate and be the party girl, even when it was absolutely not in her best interest? She was tired. She was worn out. She wasn't getting enough sleep. This whole extravaganza, it sounds like it extended out for quite a long time. And so, clearly she was getting more and more run down. Something happened where she just, she either passed out or whatever. It's a Natalie Wood kind of thing probably. So, or a Dennis Wilson. Both found and drowned off in Marina Del Rey. So my question, though, is just looking at it from the other side, from her family side or from her side, what are your thoughts on someone in her position? What kind of pressure to participate, be the party girl, not say no, be the life of the party, that kind of thing. What do you think might have been going on from that perspective?
Well, I think that's what you have to stress. You have to stress the fact that she's there. This woman, I don't know her background, but I can imagine her ever being in Bora Bora before, and maybe never even taken a vacation outside of the U.S. I don't know. But the point is that she's there on business. She's there with a company. She's there with people who she reports to, and she has no choice but to essentially go along. And so, she's 28. She obviously didn't know enough. She took too many drugs, essentially. But there's a big, question here. Did the drugs kill her? Is there something else? She was found floating in a lagoon. So there is a tremendous amount of pressure by someone who's trying to essentially work for Silver Pictures and work for Joel Silver, and to go along, to sort of be part of the crowd. It's more than peer pressure. This is business pressure. This is not, you're not on a date. You're not out on a date. You're out with people who write your check and who you report to. So there is a lot of pressure that essentially, in part, probably led to what happened here. So I think that they have an argument. I think it's a tough one, but that's a pretty compelling argument that, in fact, she's 28, but she's a personal assistant.
Sure.
And she
Right.
did what everyone else did.
Yeah.
I would rip that apart. I just would.
So would I, by the way.
Absolutely. I'm actually reading it right now, and I feel like it is a very poor argument. I mean, they're talking about wrongful acts of furnishing her with these things. No, she was on a business function for a family trip, a vacation for him, not for her.
Dr. Cole,
I think the 28-year-olds will kill you, and I agree with you.
Yeah, we got to run a break, and I'd like
16 or 18.
Yeah, we got to run a break. Unfortunately, it's a hard break. We have to run a break. I'd like to get your analysis, Doctor, when we come back, how you would approach that, how you would rip that apart from a psychological point of view. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. We'll be right back after a word from these sponsors.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
What do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a Torrent Big Red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. And got the remote.
Great. Now grab that Torrent Big Red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody, and we're talking to attorney at law Richard Roth. And of course, we're talking about the strange case that involves producer Joel Silver. And if you guys have been listening, of course, I know you have, and it's really, really weird. And of course, I'm Joel Sturgis, and right along with me,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
You ever get one of those thoughts stuck in your head from break and you just go to tackle it right away? Because during the break, I looked up Joel Silver's net worth, $400 million. So yeah, that would definitely bring some bells and whistles to people that maybe don't have $400 million. That would include him in that case. So just want to get that out there. And Doctor, I would really like you to give your workup on psychologically why this would go down in your opinion. And whether or not, how you would approach it in a court of law.
Oh man, this is. I just feel like this is less from a psychological angle, unfortunately, just because I read a ton of cases. That's pretty much all I do. I felt like the case was kind of building steam as I was reading the a little bit, because it was putting some because her death really does look accidental. Right, due to consumption of alcohol, cocaine. These are all things she could voluntarily take part in or not, right, at 28 years of age. Maybe a little bit of overwork or heat stroke, but still, it seems like a terrible accident. Yet, as the case was being written, it kind of was throwing a little bit of shade on one of the guys that she was hanging out with who fled right after the death. And so I thought they were kind of going to try to build up that reasonable sort of doubt, even though it's not a criminal case, but sort of doubt in the jury's mind that maybe there was some more nefarious stuff going on here. And I think that as somebody that was listening to it, I might have been swayed by that. But then I don't know what happened with the paperwork, but it totally lost steam and it just fell apart. I don't think it's a good civil suit. I've seen good civil suits. I don't think it is one. I don't know. I mean, from a psychological perspective, at first I was thinking it might just be that the parents were really in grief, and they're trying to blame somebody. But this, I mean, I don't want to sound cynical, but I kind of agree that it just seems like a grab for money, to be honest, because they're not trying to pin her death on anybody except the guy that has the money. And I can't see that going over real well in court with a jury.
Yeah. No. I absolutely agree. It seems like a money grab. It also seems like they took the police report and just turned it into a complaint. There's no attempt or little attempt to blame anyone, including this guy Harold, who apparently may have had a relationship with her at the time. When you go to someone in a complaint, it should be very strong allegations. They're very weak. They're weak at best.
Yeah, I mean, I've literally seen better ones by inmates, written by inmates. I'm not kidding.
I agree with you.
Yeah, and I'm not an attorney, and nor do I pretend to be one. I'm not a forensic psychologist, nor do I pretend to be one. But if I was handed this case to report on it, I'd look up at who handed it to me and go, are you guys right in the head? Because all I'm seeing here is not a wrongful death, but a tragedy. And
an accident.
If they lose their case, would her name is Carmel, if I'm not pronouncing that horribly, Musgrove, she would die in vain. But not only would she die in vain, but it would kind of disperse her own name, making her sound like a drug addicted or drug taking hussy, to use a old term.
Well, to be honest with you, I think that there's two sides to that. On the one hand, I agree with you. On the other hand, by bringing a lawsuit and making this, worthy of publication, worthy of media, this is not my first interview on this case. If in fact she loses, it actually backfires. It actually would result in, the media knowing about her and believing that she did some stupid things, and therefore she unfortunately died. So bring it to public light is not always and not necessarily in your long-term interest.
And they also, the thing that really kind of killed me reading it is that they actually, I don't think they knowingly did this, but they actually established a pattern of her taking midnight swims alone. Mm-hmm. That's in there. Yeah. That somebody saw her the night before taking a midnight swim alone, and guess what? They found her the next day after she probably took a midnight swim alone. I mean, it's establishing a very good alibi, I guess. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it just doesn't read like someone did something wrong to her. That's the problem.
No, it doesn't.
When you sue someone, whether it's fraud, whether it's contract, whether it's any kind of negligence, you want a wrongful death. You want to blame the defendant. And the problem with this complaint, except for the end where there's causative actions, it doesn't blame anyone. It just says they were hanging out doing drugs and she mysteriously died. That's all it says.
Yeah. Well, it is very sad, no doubt.
An attorney just chimed in that listens frequently, and he handles a lot of these cases as well. He says, I would turn it around and blame the parents for bad parenting, not teaching their child just to say no.
At 28, though?
Yeah.
But he says that is...
And unfortunately, it's all going to come. That's all going to come out by the defendant. Yeah. It's all going to, suing. Just be careful what you wish for, because that will certainly be an issue.
Yeah.
They're going to say that, this is not the first time she did drugs. They're going to bring other times she did drugs with other people, with other men. And it's sort of going to relive her life and relive the issues she may have had. So it's like I said, you just got to be careful if you really want to go forward.
Yeah.
You better be right.
No, Richard, being that Sybil, could they bring up her past? Like, let's just say she did have a history of drug abuse. Or she did have a history of questionable decision-making. Could that all be brought into a trial like this? because it's not criminal?
So the general rule is that habit doesn't come in. I'm sorry. Prior instances do not come in civilly. So if I have prior instances of things I've done wrong, it doesn't come in. It comes in if it's habit. It comes in if you went to red light on 120th Street. It wouldn't come in if you went through red lights on prior occasions. But if you went through red light on 101 through 20th Street, you just kept going through red light, then prior instances come in. So generally speaking, the answer is no.
Okay.
However, you are entitled to bring in not only the trip to Bora Bora, but where her head was at, what she was doing the prior several weeks. They say that she had a relationship with Harold. You know, you're entitled to know what they did, where they hung out. My guess is, I'm pretty certain, even though I don't know anything about her, that this was not her first run-in with coke. So you are entitled to show that this was something that she was negligent in her own right, and that she essentially is partially to blame. Don't forget, in a wrongful death lawsuit, which is a negligence lawsuit, one of the biggest issues in all these cases essentially is a mitigation, is contributory negligence. The question is, to what extent did she contribute to the death?
Yeah.
And that's a big issue in every case. When you have a car accident, somebody's walking when they shouldn't walk and they get hit by a car. They may sue the guy driving the car, the woman driving the car, but one of the big defenses is, what were you doing walking when it said don't walk? And in this instance, one of the big issues is going to be, isn't she in part contributorily negligent for her own wrongful death? So if whatever number they award, which is through a lot of experts, there's going to be a tremendous reduction of that, maybe even zero, because she in part was responsible, maybe in whole.
Yeah, I mean, the choices that she made impacted what ultimately happened to her. That's what a lot of people view it as. It'd be more of a cautionary tale to end. Hey, kids, don't do drugs. Could be one of those unfortunately, one of those cautionary tales. But now, who is Martin Harold? I know we brought his name up here and there, but we really didn't flesh out exactly who he is. And
I think he's the chef, isn't he? Isn't he a chef?
Does he work
they
for?
don't really get into much detail other than saying he's a chef with the Silver Pictures company, and he actually flew there too. So they don't really bring that out in the complaint. Maybe they don't know. It's unfortunate they don't know. They also don't bring out, and this is sort of the most mysterious thing about the complaint that I've read, is that she's located, they find her in a lagoon. So how does she go? Let's assume she's skinny dipped. I don't know what the proximity is, but let's assume even the pool is ocean front or lagoon front. Somebody must have put her in a lagoon. So there is some just general questions you have about what the heck, how did that happen?
Yeah.
They don't tie it in. They don't say that she was with Harold all night and Harold must have been the one to bring her in. So we don't know much about Harold. In fact, the one thing the complaint is it's barren of any actual affirmative allegations against Silver at all and against Harold. And if I represent the defendant, I'm making a motion on behalf of Silver and on behalf maybe even the Silver Pictures to dismiss. You need allegations in a complaint to be held liable, and they're just not there.
Yeah, I don't know what attorney drew up this paperwork for them, but I'm looking at it with you guys, and we've been covering true crime quite a while now, and that's horribly written up in my own opinion. I'm not an attorney, again. But you would have thought that they would have tried to use the broadest brush possible to get as many people involved, because you would think that with that kind of tactic, you'd have a better chance of finding guilt somewhere, but I don't see obviously the employee, Martin Harold, now according to Variety, as of today, was named in the lawsuit regarding the death, but it doesn't say to what level.
Yeah, listen, every complaint essentially has the same rudimentary elements. One is, you forget jurisdiction and venue. You talk about the parties. You talk about the relationship of the parties. I don't care if it's a buy-sell agreement. I don't care if it's a partnership agreement. I don't care if it's negligence, whatever that relationship was, and how the defendant wronged the plaintiff. That's the bare bones. This is drafting pleadings 101. And what this complaint does is it does talk about, to some extent, about the relationship. He's a chef. She works there. They fly there for the honeymoon. But it's barren on how he did anything wrong to her. Of course, at the end, they throw in causes of action where say that he was responsible for her death. But but you really need any judge looking at this is going to shake his head and say, "Wait a minute, what did Joel Silver do wrong?"
Well, or exactly.
What did he do wrong?
And why not sue Jennifer Aniston? Heck, it was her party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's about how closely it seems to be related.
Yeah, I think Joel Silver's lawyers make a motion to dismiss. I think Silver Studios may make a motion. I mean, there's a whole area of the law about a frolic and a detour. What is if I'm a truck delivery driver and I have to deliver boxes and I stop off at a deli to get a sandwich on my way to the next delivery, that's essentially a frolic. If I pick up my girlfriend and drive her to work while I'm at work, that's a detour. And so the question, one of the big questions is, was what Harold was doing in the normal course of his business activities?
Mm-hmm.
And the question is undeniably no. It wasn't normal for him. He didn't go to a deli and pick up a sandwich to work. He didn't. He was doing drugs with an employee. So if that's the case, then there's a good shot that even the Silver Studios can get off, because this wasn't performing in connection with his work assignment.
No, it's a side thing.
Yeah, he could be the only defendant left here, the way it stands.
Now, Richard, if they came to you, the family hypothetically came to you, and they said, "Richard, we want you to represent us," do you do everything in your power not to see the light of a jury trial on this? Do you work really hard to settle out of court?
Who am I representing in that question?
The family. not Silver, but the family. Let's just say the family came to you, hypothetically, and said, "Richard, here's the case."
Okay, so the answer to that is possibly, maybe even probably. I need to know more. I need to see these emails. There's a lot of email exchange, and there's a lot I don't know. I mean, like I said, she was found in a lagoon. He did flee. Okay, and she was mysteriously dead. We don't know why or how. The problem with this case, I think, is really a causation problem. It looks like, according to the complaint, she died from drugs. Well, unless this guy is opening her mouth or opening her nose and ingesting her, then it's a tough case.
Yeah.
So I would try to essentially engage in a very serious discovery process where I can get the emails. I can learn about this guy, Harold. I can learn what other drugs he did and try to establish the relationship. And yes, at the same time, I tell clients, I try cases with one fist clenched. I'm ready to go to trial, and my other hand's open. I'm ready to settle. So on the one hand, I'm getting the discovery. I'm seeing the emails. I'm trying to pin the tail, if you will, on this guy, Harold. On the other hand, I'm telling the defendant and their insurance carrier, listen, this is silly. This is bad press. Joel will look horrific. Let's see if we can settle it. I don't think this case has a lot of settlement value, but for the fact that we are talking about a death, I mean, a young 28-year-old woman who's no longer with us. So that, in and of itself, will make an insurance carrier hopefully pay some money. Yeah. Because this is not. There's always risk.
Well, that, and I was kind of thinking, how the hell do you find a jury that is willing to look the other way? The fact that she took the drugs herself, she went skinny dipping herself. How do you get an average? Because it has to be a jury of their peers. Which, how would you choose a jury of their peers for a Joel Silver? I don't know. Maybe you can answer that. But really, how do you find a juror that would be sympathetic to someone making bad choices?
Yeah, I think you want to find, this. It's a very complicated answer to that question. I literally hire jury consultants to help. But just off the top of my head, I want mothers. I want mothers and parents who essentially have children. And when the mom and the dad take the stand and they testify about the loss of their daughter, and they talk about how, and I don't know much about her, but what she was like and what she did and how Harold took her over. And there's a real, there's a heart-wrenching and there's a grieving. And if jurors can associate with these parents and say, oh, my God, that could be my daughter, then maybe there's a shot, there's, if you will, a sympathy decision. But that and that could go a long way. Joel Silver is a very wealthy man, but he's not a kind of guy you would just recognize on TV. I mean, you and I would, but the average juror would not. Yeah. So he's not going to get the same notoriety that the Neos and the Peyton Mannings and the Tom Bradys and the O.J. Simpsons get. So there could be some sympathy sway to that family, because at the end of the day, they lost their daughter. It's terrible. And I don't know if it's enough, but that's a very important angle.
All right, we're down to our final 10 minutes or so. I'd love to swing back to the very top of the hour. What's the one case in your mind, or if there's more than one, that's fine, that really exemplifies this psychology where the celebrity gets the benefit of the doubt?
Well, I mean, I can probably, give me a minute and I'll give you several, but the one that just stands out is that we just mentioned, this O.J. Simpson case.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's been a lot in television in the last few weeks because this is some 20th whatever year anniversary of the trial. And if you look at that case, and I followed that case religiously back then, the evidence was beyond overwhelming. I mean, they had his blood, they had everything from A to Z. They had his history. They had, and in a criminal case, by the way, some of that prior conduct does come in, not like the civil case we discussed. But they had everything against this guy. This guy was dead to rights, and he walked. Mm-hmm. And he walked, I believe, in part. There was a lot going on. I think there was a sympathy for the black element. I think a lot of black jurors that, remember, they literally were in uniform one day and all were black. I think that there was a sort of sympathy for him. I think there was a love for him. The whole chase scene with his SUV. I mean, I'll never forget that. That was a night of
the slow motion.
I do remember the white Bronco.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And everyone, they loved him. They loved him, and I think that he is a guy that literally got away with a double murder. I can't think of one that's been bigger in the press than that, because anyone and everyone, including his own defense team, knew that he killed Nicole and he killed this poor kid. And I think in part because of his notoriety, they loved him, and it's every time I see the video with the "if it don't fit, you must have quit" with the glove, vomit. I mean, I just want to vomit as a lawyer because the evidence
it is so
there.
Bad.
Yeah.
But that probably is the one that I think is just a terrible stain on our judicial system, because this guy was just, and they attacked the police, they attacked the use of the N-word, which is all good.
Yeah.
But that's part of the if you will, philosophy of a defense lawyer.
Richard,
tried it just like they would in this Carmel's case.
I gotta ask you, the OJ case, I hate to cut you up, but is it an example of brilliant defense or bumbling, inadequate prosecution?
I think it's bumbling, inadequate prosecution, but defense realizing how bumbling it was and taking it back. I mean, I got to give the defense some credit. I was not a fan of that team. I will tell you, on the civil side, a guy named John Kelly, who I know very well, who found those Bruno Magli shoes and which they won, that was brilliant defense because he found those shoes. But I do believe that it was just tremendous bumbling on the police, on the prosecutorial side. But the defendants, they basically just kept ringing that bell. Mm-hmm. And I think at the end of the day, the jury said, I don't know what the hell happened here. I'm not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that he killed these two people, and I'm partially because he's a superstar. And running through the Hertz, representing Hertz, running through the airports. Everyone knows those commercials back then.
Yeah, the Naked Gun movies
that'd be
either.
one that probably is the biggest and probably the most bothersome of them all.
Well, when I was a kid, and I was actually quite young then, I think it was my graduating high school when that all went down. So I remember sitting in school, and we were following that pretty closely, the trial. And of course, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. The attorney that was teaching our personal law class says, "Yeah, that glove could fit." That's all he said.
Oh, you know what? It came up recently because he just got out of jail. He just got his he had his probation hearing. That was it, a couple weeks ago. Yeah, and of course that glove fit. Of course that glove fit. Yeah,
it did.
I can make a glove not fit me too.
Exactly.
It's just, he's struggling, and it's so funny because that was good defense, because at the end of the day, I saw through it in literally a nanosecond. But if he didn't take the stand. That was his way of speaking.
Yeah.
He didn't say a word. What he said to the world without saying it was, it can't be me because the glove doesn't fit me.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to say a word. He just tried it on. So that was just, there was some smarts. As much as it pains me to say this, there was some smart defending of that case.
Well, there's a whole lot of if I remember correctly, there was a whole lot of high drama and pretty good acting going on too, because when he went to go put the glove on, he clearly was clenching part of his fist, so it didn't go on right. Come on.
We splayed.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Yeah. On the Kelly files, when Kelly did her on Fox, when she did her initial Kelly files, she had Shapiro, the lawyer for OJ, on. Yeah. And he basically said that he was baiting Darden, the prosecutor, to have him try on the glove. And he couldn't believe that they basically fell for it. And that was, and listen, that was one moment of them all, and that probably sticks out the most.
Yeah.
But there were several moments in that trial where you just wanted to cringe. It just was bad prosecutorial. I mean, the policeman, I forgot his name, who used the N-word. I mean, just
Mark Furman.
Yeah.
Mark Furman. Mark Furman. He was actually interviewed recently. Everyone's been interviewed recently because this whole, is now getting out of jail. There's some justice to that, by the way. He did go in jail for years for something else. So maybe God did speak. But Mark Furman, I mean, it was just, God, it was a disaster of a trial. And he walked.
Yeah, he ultimately walked. And then, of course, this newest thing that, well, I shouldn't say new, it's been years now. They couldn't use the fact that he's a murderer against him. I watched
that whole hearing. It wasn't that long. It was maybe an hour and a half. And the woman said, and she literally pointed to a stack of documents. She said, I want you to know that this all came in against you, and it was all involving your prior incident, and we can't use it at all. And the thing that struck me the most about the interview was when he basically said, listen, I've been a good person. I've never done anything wrong in my life. And,
yeah.
I mean, Nicole Brown Simpson's family's cringing. As is, what's his name? I forgot the guy.
Ron Goldman's family.
Ron Goldman.
Yeah.
Ron Goldman's
Why do I know
They're
this
cringing. Terrible. I'm sorry, I forgot. But they're cringing when he said, I've done anything wrong in my life. You killed our children.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and, and then I heard a rumor, I know this is totally kind of off topic, that they might, or it really isn't, but they might make OJ analyst for the NFL. What? That's what I heard. I heard a rumor in the old iHeartRadio rumor mill that they might go ahead and make him an analyst for the NFL. I'm like, wow, that's a killer move.
He said that. And I remember a few years after he walked, I was actually with Peyton Manning, and I was at a football signing thing, and they had a surprise guest.
It's OJ. Oh, no.
Yeah, no one knew the surprise guest. All of a sudden, OJ walks in as a surprise guest. The line was unbelievably long for them to have him sign their, the jerseys, the footballs, etc. I was going to have him say, killer, hello, killer, whatever.
Yeah.
But the point is, my point is that there is a huge contingency who still love him. I cannot imagine that the network, a viable network in this country, that would take him on as a reporter. I think it would be a massive backlash.
That would be.
I just think. I mean, he said that when he interviewed. He said, "Yes, I plan on maybe working for some networking with the NFL."
Yeah.
I cannot imagine someone who's going to. The guy, you look at the guy, nobody believes what he says.
Yeah, well, exactly.
So, if he's going to talk about linebackers and quarterbacks, I'm going to think the opposite.
Well, Richard, we're down on time here, and I want to thank you for coming on. Not only talk about the Joel Silver case, but also what we just talked about, OJ, and really enlightening us how the legal system, especially with the civil cases, actually works. And what are your websites? How can people look up what you're doing? Because I know you're quite the busy guy.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the compliments. It's very humbling. But I really appreciate being on the show. It's Rich at rrothlaw.com. That's RROTHLAW. My website's www.rrothlaw.com. My Twitter handle is rrothlaw, and I'm more than happy to talk to anyone about these things, because these are, listen, as much as we find fault in the plaintiff's lawyer and we find fault in a lot of things lawyers do, these are very important cases. Whether it's the OJ case or Carmel's case, I mean, there's a death, and there's a very grieving family. So these are things that have to be done by our system. And as crazy as our system is, and as deficient as and as messed up it is still the best system. So, you do have to believe in it, or everything else will fall apart. So I think at the end of the day, we're going to learn whether or not this case involving Jennifer Aniston's honeymoon, really how far it goes.
Yeah.
It may settle. We may never know the answer, but it's important that, these things are aired. And I appreciate you for just bringing these out in the open.
Yeah, no, our pleasure, and love to have you back on once the case is done. Yeah, I mean, we can see how it all falls.
Thanks.
If you're willing to come back on, give us your 2 cents again. We'd love to have you back on so we could talk about
I'll give you my whole hour. I'd love.
Perfect.
Cool.
Richard Roth, everybody, attorney at law, and you heard the website, and we got to get out of here. But until next time, guys, take care of each other, love each other, and hey, dig that OJ.